You know those really expensive hams that are absolutely delicious that everybody orders around the holidays? Well, I decided I was gonna make my own version, and let me tell you, it's amazing and you will save so much money. Welcome to The Salted Pepper, where we cook for real life using real food and we keep it real simple. And today's recipe is for ham, and ham done in the slow cooker. And this is going to sort of be a spin-off of what you would get at a honey baked ham company. It's not exactly, but it is my spin-off. I happen to think it's a little bit better, and I know it's a whole lot less expensive. All right, so what kind of ham do you need for this recipe? Honestly, it doesn't matter, okay? You can get any kind of ham you want, spiral sliced, unsliced, spiral sliced with a bone in. You know, it really doesn't matter. I have tested the recipe with every type of ham and it works. There are little differences in the way you're gonna prep it, and I'm not gonna get into that in this video. Instead, it's gonna be in my written post, okay? So like if you wanted to make it in the oven instead of the slow cooker, I got you covered. Go to the website, thesaltedpepper.com, and look at the recipe, and you're gonna have all of the information there, no matter what kind of ham, no matter what kind of way you wanna cook it. What I found though, is after trying out so many different things, knowing that my audience really wants to be able to make their ham in the Ninja Foodi, I decided that for the Ninja Foodi, my favorite cooking technique is slow cooking followed by broiling. That's what we're gonna do with this ham. This ham is about 4¼ pounds. It is a spiral sliced, boneless quarter ham is what they call it, okay? Now, when you're picking one out, a lot of times they're gonna come already glazed or baked. You know, they'll say, I mean, they even have caramel baked hams and they'll have honey baked hams and things like that. It doesn't matter if you get one of those. In fact, that's what this one is. But you could also get one that doesn't have that, because we are going to sort of re-season it ourselves and honey bake it again, okay? Most important thing you want to make sure though is that the ham that you get is not sliced all the way through. So in the center here, and hopefully you can see that, the ham, even though it's considered spiral sliced, it's really kind of just like moon sliced is what it is. You could do this with a whole ham yourself, okay? Go in about 1/4 inch strips and just take a sharp knife and do a half moon. And you go down about 2.5 to 3 inches to the ham. That is perfect for this recipe. We are gonna get some of that honey deliciousness all inside, but it keeps it nice and tight so that it doesn't dry out during the slow cook process or if you put it in the oven. So it's amazing. All right, to prep the ham, there's a couple things you can do. You can put it out on a rack in the refrigerator overnight and let some of the juices drain out, because you want to get the surface dry. I know that might not make sense, but it does make sense, because you don't want the honey and the seasonings to mix with the liquid in the ham, the juices, because it'll just sort of slide off. It won't stay where you put it. The other thing you can do if you didn't, have the time to take it the day before, you don't have refrigerator space, to put a big rack in your refrigerator, is take some paper towels and just sort of blot it off. You don't have to worry about the underside, just this top area. And just sort of blot off any moisture there. And even though mine was sitting in the refrigerator, I still have a little bit of moisture. All right, there we go. Now I'm gonna put this ham to the side and we're gonna make the spiced honey glaze that it's going to cook in, okay? There's 2 components to the, let's say, honey sugar glaze that we're gonna do. One gets baked in or slow cooked into the ham, or oven baked if that's how you're gonna cook it. And the other one gets made into a caramel type of sauce and put on top. But we make them both up at the same time because we're gonna use the juice from the orange in the honey mixture, and we're gonna use the zest in the sugar mixture, okay? Now don't freak out about how much sugar there is here. It is a lot of sugar. It is 1.5 cups. You're not gonna use it all. We're gonna cook it all, but you're not gonna use it all. However, I did it this way so that it's one recipe with easy measurements that you could make a 4-pound ham, an 8-pound ham, or a 16-pound ham, right? So 1.5 cups of sugar is going to be plenty to do the outer coating of the ham at the end of cooking. So just make it up. It's easier to cook this way. Trust me, make it up. And I'm going to share a little trick, a little tip on what to do with the extra because it's amazingly delicious. All right, we're gonna take 1 orange. This is just a regular navel orange. We're gonna zest it right over the sugar. You probably know this, but it's granulated sugar. Usually it'll be about a tablespoon, but it doesn't really matter. It just gives a little orange infusion of flavor that is just simply amazing. Okay. All right, that's good. Go ahead and get the rest of this scraped off. All right, perfect. That's probably got a half of a tablespoon. It doesn't matter. Half of a tablespoon, it makes no difference. All right, the spice blend that we add into the sugar. Super easy. 1/4 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, 1/4 teaspoon of ground ginger, 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg, 1/4 teaspoon of allspice, and a 1/2 teaspoon of ground cloves. I found when I tasted the honey baked ham that it was a little clove heavy in their sugar cap that they put on. So if you ever had a honey baked ham, you know what I'm talking about. And after I was really trying to get what these flavors were, I felt like it was a little clove heavy. So I decided to add more cloves, and I love the flavor. Is it gonna matter terribly if you cut down on the cloves or omit the cloves? No, not at all. Do it how you like it. But this is how it turned out for me, and I loved it. Now mix this in with the sugar. At first, what's gonna happen is the orange zest is gonna kind of clump a little bit. I'm gonna show you how we're gonna break that up. Then we just let this sit until we're ready to use it. All right, so once you get the spices blended in, you're gonna see all these little clumps, okay? We don't want those. We wanna break them up. Clean hands, go in and just start pinching the sugar between your hands until you break up any clumps of the zest. Now what's gonna happen as this sits is the zest infuses into the sugar and it becomes a really nice orange spiced sugar. It's amazing. All right, the honey glaze. 1/2 cup of honey. And we're using the same spice mixture, except I don't add the additional cloves in this one. So it's a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/4 teaspoon of ground nutmeg, 1/4 teaspoon of ground cloves, 1/4 teaspoon of ginger, and a 1/4 teaspoon of allspice, okay? We're gonna add that right into the honey. Now we wanna add the juice, or 1 tablespoon, that's all you need, from the orange, okay? Usually measure, just put it into this bowl. I can kind of eyeball, but you could certainly measure. You want a tablespoon. Is it the end of the world if you add more? No, but you don't want like a 1/4 cup of it, okay? Don't add in the whole thing or your glaze is not gonna be thick enough and it's just gonna run off the ham and we don't want that. Usually it's about 1/4 of an orange, but it depends on, how juicy your orange is, right? Because they vary. All right, now we just dump that right in and mix it up. And then we'll get our ham up here and we will get it all glazed up. All right, once you have the honey mixture all mixed up, we're gonna get the ham. Now, how you do this is up to you, okay? It depends on what kind of slow cooker you're using, how big your Ninja Foodi, whatever. It's a lot of variables. But what I found is to get the ham set up in the Ninja Foodi, I wanted it as low down in the pot as possible. This is a 6.5 quart. I'm gonna use the broil at the end. And I have a sling, a red silicone sling. But what happened is the handles were kind of getting in the way. So I just decided to go with a foil sling. Totally up to you though, okay? And this is heavy duty, but it really doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be heavy duty. Just fold Fold it like this, and then fold a second sheet, same way. You want it to be able to hold your ham. That's the most important thing, right? And then put it like that, okay? That is how I'm gonna set this up to go into the Ninja Foodi. Now, if you're using a regular slow cooker and you're gonna use your oven to broil it at the end, don't worry about this. Just sit it right on the bottom of your slow cooker, okay? All right, there we go. Now we're gonna put the honey glaze on. It doesn't matter if you wanna do it here. It's gonna get a little bit messier on your cutting board, or you can do it inside of the Foodi. Usually I'll do it inside the Foodi, but because we are doing a video, I'm gonna do it out here. It's gonna get messy. It's okay, I'll clean up afterwards. All right, to get the glaze on, you wanna make sure that you get it into all the little slices, okay? So take your time with this. Put it right down into each slice. Now they did a really nice job slicing this ham all the way to the back. I've had some that are stopped like right here. And if you encounter that, you can go in with a sharp knife, do your half moon slice to get a few more slices back here. So you can get the honey mixture in there. But this one, they did a really nice job. Okay, now there's a little bit left. And right now what I'm gonna do is get it into the Foodi, okay? So you see how these are starting to like kind of bend over? This will also help keep it together, which helps heat it evenly without drying out any of the pieces. So go ahead and just take it like this, lift it up, and again, like that's messy, right? Do it inside the Foodi, it'll be much easier. All right, then just put it right in there. Unfold this because we want the heat to get to it, so I just like kind of cuff it, just like that. Pour over the rest of the glaze. Glaze it right on top. Oh my gosh, so amazing. Then if you need to, take a toothpick. You don't have to do this, but if you need to, like mine was really falling over, and I think as it warms, it's gonna fall even more. So if you want to, you can take and just secure it with a little toothpick there to keep all those slices together. It keeps your honey inside longer, and that's just what I do. It's up to you. All right, close your slow cooker, however you need to set that up. We're gonna go on high, so turn the Foodi on or whatever slow cooker you have. Get to the slow cook function. So now we're gonna take our time down to 2 hours. And if you are using the Ninja Foodi, you're gonna get to this point where it says 4 hours and you're gonna be like, wait a minute, what? I can't go down any further? You can. Do this, hit start, and then adjust down to 2 hours, okay? That's just a little workaround. That way, when the 2 hours of cook time is up, it will switch over to keep warm in case you're not around, and it won't continue to cook on high, which could dry it out if you went too long. All right, so now just wait till it gets up to 145 degrees Fahrenheit, then we'll broil it and get this sugar, caramel, syrupy glaze on top. Oh, it's so delicious. The 2 hours of slow cook is up. It switched over to keep warm maybe about 5 minutes ago. So let's go ahead and take a temperature and make sure that we are up to 145 degrees or higher. It doesn't really matter if it's higher than that, but we just definitely want it to be at least 145. It is 155, so we are good to go here. Now, this may seem a little bit cumbersome, but if you don't do this step, it's okay, but you may end up having a pot that's a little difficult to clean because we're about to go under broil. So what I like to do is lift the ham out, take the juices out at this point, and then put the ham back in for broiling. Otherwise, you could broil all the juices kind of dry and then they'll crust up on the bottom of the pot. Not the end of the world. I've done that, and I just had to soak the pot, so either way, it's fine. All right, let's go ahead and pull this ham out. Get all those good juices out and put it right here on the tray. Looks beautiful. Now you're not going to have a whole lot of juices, but you will have some, and you can use them for, if you wanted to make a soup or something. They're going to be a little bit sweet because of the honey. I have also tried to use the juices instead of water when I make I'm going to call it the candy coating, sugar coating for the ham. But I wasn't as happy with the final look, so I'm using straight water today, but you can use the juices. It just tends to be a little bit more of a sticky coating instead of a nice crisp sugar coating, okay? I'm gonna leave the toothpick in and put the ham right back in the pot now. And I do usually spoon over some of the juices, and I put a little bit of the sugar on top before we broil. And this is just to get the top of the ham wet. So we're not using a whole lot. That just helps make it look really pretty when we broil it. Okay. And then just sprinkle some of the sugar. Light coating, you don't want it too thick because we want it to totally caramelize as we broil this ham. All right, that looks good. Probably about 2 tablespoons or so. And then put the lid down. Now I'm switching over to the broil. And the broil function is called grill on some of the European models. So if yours doesn't have broil, look for grill. 450, that's the default temperature. You can't adjust it. That's what we want. And about 10 minutes is fine, but usually I put 15. And hit start, leave that alone. Now I'm gonna move over to the stove and get our sugar mixture starting to boil so that we can glaze the ham. Combine the sugar and 1/2 cup of water in a small saucepan on the stove, put it over medium heat, give it a good stir, and let it come to a boil. After about 10 minutes, lift the lid and take a peek and see if it's as brown as you want it. You could go longer, but honestly, this looks beautiful to me. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull it out and then get the ham ready for our sugar glaze. The foil will cool down fairly quickly, so I like to just take it right off of the foil at this point. You can even touch it with your hands. It's really not that hot. Move that away. We're going to just throw that away. Now what I like to do to prepare the ham is cut it a little bit deeper, okay? Remember I said they were like half moon cuts? Now we're getting ready to serve it, right? So let's go ahead and cut it. First, take your toothpick out because you don't want to cut the toothpick. So go ahead and cut it down. We are going to put that toothpick back in, but just cut it down a little bit deeper so that this glaze gets down into the ham itself. And also, it's easier once the glaze is on top for you to serve it if you go ahead and cut it down. I'm not cutting all the way to the bottom. All right, perfect. Now I'm gonna go ahead and sort of put this back together a little bit with that toothpick, just so it's holding together when I put the glaze on top. Once it starts to boil, do not stir it. That's extremely important because if you stir it, it could start to crystallize, and you don't want that. We want a nice shiny glaze for our ham. The temperature will slowly come up, it'll start to boil, and then the temperature will climb. You want to turn the heat off when it reaches between 275 to 280 degrees Fahrenheit. And then it's important to work a little quickly, so we'll get our ham glazed right away. Our sugar mixture is done, and now it's time to pour it over the ham. I cannot stress this enough, this is extremely hot. So you want to be very, very careful. This is not something you want kids to do. All right, so what I like to do is start on one side and just drip this syrup down the one side and then down the other side. We're going to collect it at the bottom here. You don't want to go too thick. So that is about it. That's all we need. We have more left here, okay? So I'm going to show you what you can do with that. So once you're done with your ham, and again, just lightly coat it. You don't want to go too thick. Set it to the side and let it sit for about 15 to 20 minutes before you serve it, okay? That's going to set up that sugar coating. Now, what you can do with the rest of the sugar is get a piece of parchment paper or a candy mold would be fine, and just pour little bits out, little drops like that. And let it set up. I'm gonna do a few in a mold that I have too. And this is gonna taste like a clove and cinnamon hard candy, which might sound odd to you, but it's oddly delicious. The other thing that this would be nice on is some sweet potatoes. So if you were serving sweet potatoes, you could also pour that right over top. It'd be really yummy. Then just let this set up. So just let it cool down and it will harden, and then we'll pop them out of the molds. So probably this little one was already there. Oh my goodness. That one's still a little chewy. But so delicious. Oh my goodness, so good. All right, it's been about 15 minutes and I can tell it is ready to carve. So now we have a nice coating of sugar on top of our ham, which is what honey baked ham comes like if you've ever seen it. Theirs is a little bit thicker, and you could do that if you wanted to. Just put on one layer, then let that cool a little bit, put on another layer instead of making the little candies like I did. But I like it like this because I think it makes it a little bit easier to serve. Now what you want to do is put it on your serving platter and then start to cut some pieces. Don't forget to take the toothpick out, okay? The first piece here is going to be a little bit dry just because it was exposed to the, the broil, right? So as we get into here, that's going to be so nice. Oh my gosh. This looks so good. We get that nice sugar. Oh, this is one of the best hams I have ever had in my life. And it's gorgeous. All right, that looks perfect. Now let me grab a slice and I'll taste it for you. Oh my gosh, this looks so good. All right, first let me get the top part that's got that sugar glaze. Oh my goodness. What an amazing flavor. Wow. Oh my goodness. This is so delicious. And it's tender, it's not overcooked, perfectly warm through. Oh my gosh. And it's not hard to eat, so don't worry about that. It's not like it's super hard or crunchy or anything, it's not. Absolute perfection. All right, that is so delicious. Now let's check on that candy that we made, which I know just seems so odd. So now it's nice and crunchy. Let's see how it did in the molds. I don't know if they're completely set up or not, but let's just see if I can pop one out. Yeah, they are. There they are. Oh my gosh. These are probably a little bit big. Like, I don't know that I would ordinarily make them this big. I think this one's a little bit better. But look, you can break them. They are not super, super hard. Oh my goodness. It's like a clove, cinnamon, caramel. Oddly delicious. This one, a little harder. So this would be like a hard candy. Enjoy.